March 7th. Spring must be near, because enemy skirmishers have been hitting and jabbing at us various places for the past week or so, and we have been doing the same for them. Lieutenant Tom says that General Lee and the Rebs are probably cooking up their own spring plans, and he just hopes we can get ours going before they do theirs. Accompanied Major Pettit's guns to meet Rebs wandering nearby, but they skedaddle whenever artillery arrives. The Major's men can unhitch, load, and fire so quickly that most of the time the Rebs are not out of range, and it is always a lively sight to see them dance from the shells. I have been looking for a letter from Sarah these past days now, but there is never mail for me. Has she forgotten me already? I asked Johnny if he had gotten any mail, and he said no, but he did say he had disobeyed orders and written Sarah about the caisson exploding. He said because he knew I would not say enough about it, though he swore he did not put anything about my pining away. March 11th. We have just learned that there is a new commander of the National Army, Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant. Everyone was happy that General Meade will stay to command the Army of the Potomac, since he is well liked by the boys and officers alike. Sergeant Donahue said we should stop worrying about General Meade and start worrying about our skins, since a new commander will always try to prove he deserved his promotion with a victory. And guess who will have to do the fighting? Still no letter. March 16th. It happened very quickly. Yesterday, Lieutenant Toms was called to a meeting, and immediately after he issued orders to pull down our winter homes and be ready to march. We are now moving along the Pike Road at a leisurely pace in the general direction of Jefferson. Winter is over officially, I guess, and now the fun begins. No more time to write. March 17th. Have begun a letter to Sarah, but don't know when I will be able to send it out. We are in a wooded section about 3 miles from main roads, so little mail comes in or goes out. I will continue writing day after day till I can mail it, which will give me something to do besides worry. One good thing about keeping busy, I am so tired at night that I drop off to sleep as if I had not a care in the world. March 23rd. We have been skirmishing regularly with the Rebs, though we have had only one wounded seriously, H. Clements, and the boys seem eager to meet the enemy more. Sergeant Donahue said, "Even Spirit seems more feisty than usual." So far, the heaviest fighting has been over who should be carrying Lucky Minnie, which resulted in a flattened nose and a black eye and some hard feelings. There is now an official list which is kept by Corporal Gorham. The only other action to report was my 3 skirmishes with Shelp, all very minor, but still annoying. I took the high road in all 3, by letting pass some remarks that could have gotten him time in the stockade, but this did not seem to lessen his anger with me. When I asked Johnny why he thought Shelp acted this way, Johnny said, "Some people are born mean, and that is the way they live, and there is no explaining it." I guess that is as good an explanation as any. March 24th. Chased the Rebs most of the day, but to little purpose. Our line of march has been altered, and we seem to be heading back towards Brandy Station. Lieutenant Toms told Sergeant Donahue, Sergeant Drake, and me that 30,000 troops have left and are headed south. "Let's hope Uncle Robert bites at the apple," he said. "That will take a bite out of him." It has been over a month since I last heard from Sarah. Johnny has received only 1 letter from his mother and none from his sisters or other relatives in this time, and thinks there is mail for us sitting in a wagon in some farmer's pasture. Sent off my last letter to Sarah, and will start another. March 25th. Rested today, and so did the Rebs, so it was quiet and peaceful. The rain that has fallen all night and today probably has something to do with this. Have lived on hardtack, salt pork, and cornmeal for a week now, so I traded 2 pounds of tobacco for a chicken, a steep price, and boiled it up in a coffee pot with some root vegetables and salt. Drank the soup from the spout and found it very good, and Johnny agreed. Some letters and packages caught up with us in the afternoon, but none for me. 3 months ago I would not have even given it a thought. Was able to finish my letter to Sarah and mail it out. Once it was gone, I wondered if writing before she has replied to my other letters will offend her as too forward. Johnny said, "At least you're not thinking on being bad luck and such any more," which is not true. Not exactly, anyway. But I did not confess this to Johnny. He then added, "She loves to get letters, especially from you, so don't worry about writing too much." March 26th. Have not moved, and all remains quiet and wet. Rumors drift through camp about what is happening and where we will be headed next, and some of the boys even said we were going to try to get between General Lee's army and Richmond, though I never say yes or no. Pete McQuaid asked if I knew something I wasn't telling, and when I said no, he became upset, wanting to know why I wouldn't tell him. He says he needs to know if we are going to fight in a day or two, or in a week or two, that he feels something bad will happen to him, and he wants to be prepared. It seems that his turn with Lucky Minnie was 2 days ago, and will not come up again for nearly a month, so he is nervous. I was not sure what to say or do, and he seemed very serious, so I gave him the silver coin Sarah sent to me and told him its story. I hope Sarah will understand why I did this. Received back pay today. Many of the boys have set to gambling it away, but I put my money in a sock and will hold it till I know what to do with it. Johnny said that since our pay is here, our mail will probably follow. On July 4th. Later. At dinner, Willie Dodd asked that Spirit be given a regular turn with Lucky Minnie, saying he was much a part of G Company as any of the rest, but the boys voted this down. Willie was upset, of course, but he seemed better when I asked him for some history. His mother died when he was just 5, and his father was, and still is, an engineer for the New York Central Railroad, so Willie has spent most of his life on trains going from one town to another. He gained by Spirit after the dog was hit by a train, not his father's, and lost its front leg. But don't feel sorry for him, Willie said. He can outrun most any animal, and I can't think of anything he can't do that a dog with 4 legs can, except lift his leg to pee. Willie was just 14 when he enlisted, and when I asked how he managed to pass, him being 4 years under the legal age to enlist then, he said he guessed he got in on his length. Willie is tall for any age. He said that after the war he intends to join the railroad and maybe be an engineer himself some day, which I think will suit him, as he is always on the move, whether in camp or not. Willie wanted to know how I had managed to enlist, and I had to admit I had lied my way in. I signed Uncle's full name to the paper saying, "Consent in case of minor," and when questioned about it said, "You can check with him yourself if you don't believe me." But the recruiter only grunted, and then went on to the next man in line. April 2nd. Broke camp and did more marching. I am not sure how all this helps us beat the Rebs, but we have seen a great deal of Virginia and its people. Not many are openly hostile towards us, though a few, mostly the old people, tell us we are trespassers and robbers and Yankee trash. The rest just stare at us when we pass through a town and keep their thoughts inside, which is wise when there are so many soldiers near who want to fight. The Negroes give us very little response, though now and then one or another will nod as we go past or tip their hat if no such white man is around to see them. Several have run off from their owners and joined our march as camp servants. So far no Southern owners have come asking after them, and I doubt many will. April 9th. Well, after more marching and no fighting, we have settled down in a grassy spot and pitched our tents. We have been put in reserves, and Lieutenant Tom said, "Enjoy this while you can." The newspapers are full of stories about the action south of here, and hints of what might follow. These hints sound as if the writers were in the tent with Lieutenant Toms and the rest of us last January. I wonder if Uncle Robert reads the same newspapers as we do. Later. Mail has arrived, with 3 letters for me. Johnny saw me reading them and said, "I think I will have a sergeant for a brother-in-law any day now." I took a good deal of ribbing from the other men after this, but managed to give some of it back, as almost everyone has letters today. April 12th. This spot filled up pretty fast, and soldiers are now camped in a farmer's field and orchard. Most are General Warren's men. Our own 122nd is not in sight, and more are expected every day. A long line of wagons went by today, and we even saw some familiar faces among the mules and drivers. The only thing of note today is that I had another skirmish with Shelp. He and some other men were playing cards when a dispute broke out, and Theron Chrysler called Shelp a cheat, and Shelp called Theron a whiny coward and threw over the table to get at him. I got between them, and some other men grabbed hold of Shelp, which was lucky for me, because I think he would have hit me just as well as Theron. I told Theron that he had better have proof of what he said, and when it was clear he had none, other than that Shelp had won about all of his money, I told him that I had never known Shelp to cheat, and that if he didn't watch out, but I never got to finish, because Shelp started yelling, "I don't need your help, I can take care of him," and he tried to get at Theron again, but the men held him back. I ordered the men holding Shelp to take him off somewhere to settle down, and he went off with some very hot words for Theron and me. Next I told Theron that I did not want to see him gambling again, ever, since he did not know how to lose, and that he should get to his tent fast before I got angry. I have a feeling that I will hear from Shelp again, even though I did stick up for him. April 22nd. Have not had time to write in this journal, what with filling out the roster reports for the paymaster and other sergeant chores. I have only found time to write Sarah 2 very brief letters since her 3 arrived, but I will try tonight after final roll call. I asked Johnny if Sarah's hair was a little or a lot curly, and he responded by telling me he was tired of telling me this detail and that about her, and having to tell her this detail and that about me. Get your picture taken and have her send you one of her and be done with it. I think this is a very good idea. April 24th. Went to town to have a picture taken, but no one there has a camera. Or if they do, they don't want to take a picture of a Yankee. Sergeant Donahue said there is a newspaper photographer somewhere in camp, and he might take my photograph, so I am now going to find him. Later. I hunted and hunted all over the camp, but it is not easy to find one man among 3,000. Finally, I came on Mr. Tom Roach in his photographic wagon, and he made a cart to visit photograph of me in my uniform for $1. I thought the price a little steep, especially since it did not take more than a few moments to take the picture. But Mr. Roach said that chemicals are dear down here, especially since every officer in camp wants to sit for a picture. Now to finish my letter, and send it, and me, off. I wonder what Sarah will think. April 30th. Lieutenant Tom said to be ready to move in the morning. I guess our little rest is at an end.